You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Monday 15th of September 2014. EDL supporters attack police during Rotherham sex abuse protest as Britain First and British National Party meet and greet people. Shaun Wright details 7 active investigations into suspected South Yorkshire grooming gangs to Thursday's police and crime panel. Another suspected paedophile from Bradford arrested in Bucks police crackdown campaign. Sheffield Crown Court hears case of 6 Bradford men who had sex with missing girl 13. Shropshire child exploitation reports rising. Viennese teen girl likely killed in Syria. United States accuses Syria of hiding chemical weapons as a prelude to bombings. And the UK joins in as it blames Assad regime after watchdog documents chlorine attacks. Thought for the day, why do some people court disaster in the Middle East? And finally, 2 for 1 day Monday. I have an announcement to make before the news today. From now on, the World at 8 will not be presented on the main British National Party website page. Last Friday, the 12th of September, we ran an interview with the President of the British National Party, Nick Griffin, and at the last minute were asked by IT at BNP HQ, none too politely, to remove it, and then the World at 8 would be allowed onto that site. Radio Britain refused, as is our right as an independent nationalist news pod, and subsequently did present the World at 8 on YouTube, Radio Britain and the Support Nick Griffin Facebook. We will not appear on any direct links to the British National Party again. We are now, while still being World at 8 and Radio Britain, a unity of nationalists broadcast pod for all nationalists at home and abroad. Spread the word and spread the message that the free nationalist news will not be silenced by the Wigton Soviet or its followers. We at Radio Britain encourage dissent, but not deceit or lies. UK news. EDL supporters attack police during Rotherham sex abuse protest as Britain First and British National Party meet and greet people. Police made 4 arrests at English Defence League rally as far-right group is accused of trying to divide Rotherham. South Yorkshire police said officers had been confronted with missiles and barriers, but no injuries had been reported. English Defence League EDL protesters have attacked police in Rotherham while demonstrating over the recent revelations about child sexual exploitation in the town. 3 men linked to the demonstration were arrested ahead of the march on suspicion of possessing an offensive weapon and remain in custody. A 4th man from Rotherham was also arrested on suspicion of committing a public order offence. Police erected a 10-foot barricades around the town centre while extra police officers were drafted in from around the country. Women Bennett of Unite Against Fascism said, "We want justice for the victims, but we don't want racists exploiting it. I've counted 3 different Nazi groups since I've been here. Obviously something has got to be done, but the EDL and the BNP are trying to devastate this town." World at 8. The UAF once again take great pains to say it was a Nazi demonstration, when the Nazis were a German political party in the 1930s and 1940s. I do not believe any Nazi parties were present in Rotherham. I do know for a fact the British National Party and Britain First were not in attendance at the farcical demonstration. Both parties, at the order of their leaders, were elsewhere in the city meeting and greeting the local people. Shaun Wright details 7 active investigations into suspected South Yorkshire grooming gangs to Thursday's police and crime panel. 7 significant investigations into suspected child grooming gangs are underway in South Yorkshire, including 2 in Rotherham, it's been revealed. A report by Police and Crime Commissioner Shaun Wright into Thursday's Police and Crime Panel meeting revealed the number of live investigations taking place into allegations involving multiple perpetrators and victims. Mr Wright's report said there are currently 179 live child sexual exploitation investigations being carried out by South Yorkshire Police, with 60 of those cases related to Rotherham. Mr Wright told Thursday's meeting he agrees industrial-scale child abuse is still taking place across South Yorkshire. He said it's just as prevalent today as it was in 2010 or 2005. World at 8. In reality, he should say it's just as prevalent today as it has been for the last 35 years. That is the truth. Another suspected paedophile from Bradford arrested in Buck's police crackdown campaign. Thames Valley Police have arrested a man on suspicion of child sex offences as part of the Operation Articulate campaign. The 37-year-old man from Bradford was arrested on September the 11th on suspicion of sexual activity with a child under 16, arranging or facilitating commission of a child sex offence, causing or inciting a child to engage in sexual activity and causing or inciting child prostitution for gain. The arrest relates to offences in the Aylesbury area between 2007 and 2009 and is part of Operation Articulate, a Thames Valley Police investigation relating to child sexual exploitation. World at 8. What a can of worms has been opened now, and by nationalists from years ago. Now it is too little and too late for many, as the establishment still will not back vulnerable girls against the now larger Muslim communities and religious leaders. Sheffield Court hears 6 of Bradford men who had sex with missing girl 13. A 13-year-old girl who ran away from home in Sheffield was trafficked by a group of men who had sex with her while she was missing for more than a week, a jury has been told. The teenager, who had only just had her 13th birthday, left her home in August last year and ended up in Bradford, where she came under the influence of a group of adult men, Sheffield Crown Court heard. The girl's disappearance sparked a police appeal for help to find her, and she was discovered in Bradford more than a week after she went missing, prosecutor Tom Story said. Mr Story told the trial of 5 men, which started on Tuesday, that the girl was taken to a hotel in central Bradford where one of the defendants, Shakil Rahman, 26, raped her. The prosecutor said another of the men, Mohammed Shapal, 22, also had sex with the girl, and a third, Usman Ali, 21, picked her up in a car and had sex with her a day later. He said the teenager told the police she had not been able to push him off because he was big and she was little. Opening the case, Mr Story said, "This case is about child sexual exploitation of a 13-year-old girl by these 5 defendants and others in the summer of last year." Rahman of Haworth Road, Bradford, denies rape and trafficking. Shapal, also of Haworth Road, Bradford, denies sexual activity with a child and trafficking. Ali of St Mary's Road, Manningham, Bradford, denies sexual activity with a child. Amini, 36, of Lopham Street, Burngreave, Sheffield, denies sexual activity with a child and trafficking. Rashid, 36, of Ulverston Road, Woodseats, Sheffield, denies trafficking. The trial continues. World at 8. One thing I've always said is that these Muslims, without exception, never plead guilty to anything at any time. They know it costs money to run trials and it takes time, which they need to get their relations out of the way and get their stories straight. In this case, the just 13-year-old child ran straight into their arms because she was vulnerable and enjoyed being gang raped. There, story all done for these bastards. Shropshire child exploitation reports rising. Reported cases of child sexual exploitation are rising in Shropshire according to a council review. 6 or 7 serious allegations are being reported in the country every month, police have said. 39 cases were referred to Shropshire Council's Child Sexual Exploitation Panel in 2013-2014, compared with 27 in 2012-2013. The news comes a year after the last of 7 men were jailed for their part in a child sex ring in Telford. West Mercia Police said it had 38 ongoing investigations across the force area and hoped they would lead to prosecutions. World at 8. It's spreading along with the rehousing and migration of Muslims to other parts of the country. Disgusting. European news. Viennese teen girl likely killed in Syria. One of the two Austrian students who flew to Syria in April claiming they were going to fight in the civil war has possibly been killed. There is still no official confirmation. Alexandra Markovits, spokesman for the Interior Minister, told the Salzburger News, "We also have this information and have checked it, but cannot say with absolute certainty that it is true, but the parents have been informed their daughter could be dead." Konrad Kogler, Director General for the Public Security, also confirmed that there were unverified rumours on Sunday evening's ORF programme in the centre. The motivation of the two Bosnian-born girls aged 15 and 16 are unclear. Before leaving they had contact with Chechen youths and visited a mosque in Vienna's 2nd district. After their departure via Turkey, the teenagers regularly posted status updates on social media from Syria. Interpol has been searching for the girls since April. World date, motivation? It's quite clear, isn't it? They're either Muslim or converts and think that killing is the way forward. I wouldn't bother with all the soft soap, just tell it like it is. New jihadist group established in Denmark. Military Ibrahim, which is reported to have strong connections with the Islamic State, is now active in Denmark and has released its first video aimed at recruiting other Danish Muslims to its cause. The jihadist organisation Military Ibrahim, which is banned in neighbouring Germany, has established itself in Denmark. Ekstrabladet reported on Sunday that the group's members include some of Denmark's most radical Islamists and takes its inspiration from the Islamic State, the terrorist organisation alternately known as ISIS. According to the newspaper, several of the group's members have fought in Syria and Iraq. Military Ibrahim posted its first Danish video on YouTube last week, filmed in Aarhus Parken. The video features a man wearing a taqiyya, an Islamic rounded cap, and sporting a long beard. The man speaks both Arabic and Danish in the video. The Islamist praises both ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and former al-Qaeda leader Abu Musab al-Sakawi, who was killed by the United States in 2006. The man also condemns Danish democracy and those Danish Muslims who support it. "We condemn those who worship democracy. We condemn them for eternity," the man says. According to Ekstrabladet, the Danish branch of Military Ibrahim was established in Vejle and also includes known Islamists from Copenhagen, Aarhus, Odense and Aalborg. Nico Pusher, a jihadist expert at the University of Vienna's Assad Institute for International Affairs, told the newspaper that there is a strong connection between Military Ibrahim and the Islamic State. Many followers of Military are full-blooded members of the Islamic State and fight in the Middle East for their caliphate. Military Ibrahim is part of the European Islamist network, which has connections in Austria, Germany, Belgium, France and the UK, so I'm not at all surprised that they've now shown up in Denmark, he said. Military Ibrahim is a Salafist organisation that was banned by the German government in June 2012. The group was the subject of massive police raids in Germany in June 2012 and March 2013. A former German rapper who performed under the name Deso Dog was thought to have been a driving force behind the group's German presence. World at 8. What gets me is that all these European countries have denied the fascists and neo-Nazis to organise groups or hold marches, and yet they allow and promote Islamic terror groups and communists to hold sway. Is this a sign of the times? World News. United States accuses Syria of hiding chemical weapons as a prelude to bombings. Sigrid Kaag, the United Nations official appointed last year to coordinate the Syria chemical weapons disarmament effort, gave a private briefing to the United Nations Security Council that stated that the destruction of 96% of Syria's declared chemical weapons stockpile has been accomplished. However, according to the briefing, there are some discrepancies between what has been declared and what Syria may actually have available for the manufacture of chemical weapons. Some are wondering whether Syria has accurately accounted for all the chemical weapons in its arsenal. During the country's civil war, the Syrian government was suspected of using a number of indiscriminate weapons, including bombs filled with chlorine, against the rebels challenging the established authoritarian rule of President Bashar al-Assad. The Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons is now responsible for overseeing the Syrian chemical disarmament. The US expressed concerns that any hidden chemical weapons could fall into the hands of the Islamic and militant extremists that are waging war across Syria. In recent months, Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, the militant group has taken over areas of northeast Syria and northwest Iraq, have released photographs and videos of mass killings, beheadings and other atrocities. If they were to get their hands on sophisticated chemical weapons, it would be a catastrophe. World at 8. Frankly, this reeks of Iraq and Saddam all over again. I am not a supporter of Islam in Europe and never will be, but one can understand and even a non-radicalised Muslim becoming angry at this scenario. We in the West need to support the good Muslims and bomb the bad ones, but we need to approach this with manners and consult and work with the countries concerned. Come on, Nick, we need another letter. And the UK joins in as it blames Assad regime after watchdog documents chlorine attacks. The global chemical weapons watchdog found evidence that chlorine gas was used systematically and repeatedly as a weapon in northern Syria, where witnesses described poison barrel bombs crashing into their villages from the sky, the agency said on Wednesday in a report obtained by Reuters. Reacting to the report, Britain and the United States blamed the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, which they said was the only party in the civil war with helicopters. British Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond said in a statement that the report supports its claim that the Assad regime is continuing to use chemical weapons in Syria after agreeing to give up a chemical weapons programme. The systematic and repeated use of chlorine in northern Syria and the consistent reports from witnesses of the presence of helicopters at the times of the attacks leave little doubt as to the Assad regime's culpability, he said. Although chlorine is not a prohibited substance, its use as a chemical weapon is prohibited under the 1997 Chemical Weapons Convention, which Syria joined a year ago this week. World at 8. What a nonsense. We need to support Assad in every way possible, although this will go against the US and their love of democracy, well away from the United States, of course. Thought for the day. Oh, why do they do it? Okay, I know I am a hard-hearted persona, but why, oh why do Brits and Yanks go to the trouble spots of the world? It seems like a magnet for the do-gooders of the world to utter the words refugees, Islam, ISIS and beheadings. Journalists swarm there in their hundreds, hoping just to remain in a nice comfy hotel, whilst all around them a country is falling apart. And aid workers, why the last thing most of these people need is either a camera on them or some Western guy or girl knowing bugger all about what's going on. It was the same in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Egypt and Syria, and now Iraq yet again. Masses of journalists getting in the way of the troops, running about and yelling about bombs and refugees, while soldiers had to help them dodge the IEDs. I have no time for people who ignore safety rules for the sake of a few usually wrong lines in a newspaper report or paper. What do Islamists do when confronted with a willing chicken? Behead it, that is what. Whether you be an aid worker, missionary, nurse, doctor, reporter or whatever passes for such, if you have a white face, forget it. Unless you are a convert wearing the full garb and hoisting around a bloody great Kalashnikov, you will be found, taken and beheaded. At a date and a time in the future. So don't be so conceited to think that these people are rational. They are not. The picture in the Daily Mail of the latest Satan's little helper showing him amidst a sea of dark faces all grinning. Some of these Islamic morons haven't had such a good time in years, chopping away in front of the cameras. Fame at last. Of course, with the US and the UK getting ready to bomb parts of Syria without the consent of President Bashar al-Assad, who will, as I would, regard the bombing of parts of his country with a less than happy attitude, the West is once again opening the doors to real trouble. You would think all the committees, groups and policies in place not to do this that we would have learnt. The UN is a vast organisation which gets other vast organisations to do not anything at all. NATO the same, and the EU will pontificate whilst hosting masses of Muslims in their own countries. It has reached the point of ridiculousness and an almost Chaplin-like film. One can see both the military generals walking like Chaplin with sticks and large boots, waving gaily as they press the button for the bombing to go ahead. A Peter Sellers-like rocket will strike home and there will be lots of waving and shouting, and then a large sign will go up saying the end, and it will be. Neither Obama nor Cameron are fighting men. They couldn't, in fact, fight their own way out of a paper bag. So one should place a military man and an experienced man who has fought in the Middle East and knows how to approach it with a respected Muslim advisor and approach Assad and get things on an even keel. Not even the most stupid of people bomb another country without gaining permission or a joint military action well in advance of the said bombings. This is one of the many cases where I can understand Muslims getting their drawers in a twist. We should all keep out, even though unfortunately we haven't in the past. In fact, we have funded ISIS in at least 3 Islamic countries under the dubious name of democracy, only to find that they have been playing the West like they've been playing their own people. We should withdraw while we still have a country to withdraw to. The crone speaks and Mozart knows best. And finally, 2 for One Day Monday. Those better versed in geography will be aware that several countries that were once part of Yugoslavia now describe themselves as, for example, Macedonia, FYR, denoting former Yugoslav Republic. So, if Scotland gains its independence after the forthcoming referendum, the remainder of the United Kingdom will be known as the former United Kingdom. Fuck. In a business to discourage Scots from voting yes in the referendum, the government should now begin to campaign with the slogan, "Vote no, for fuck's sake." And when I was a boy, my mama would send me down to the corner store with $1 and I'd come back with 5 potatoes, 2 loaves of bread, 3 bottles of milk, a hunk of cheese and a box of tea and 6 eggs. You can't do that now. Too many security cameras. You've been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynn Mozart and I wish you all a very good night.